gone. We will move on to Copenhagen versus Manchester United, and we'll get Miguel's thoughts first here once we take a look at the betting that we have on matchbook.com. Copenhagen 4.4 underdogs here. Manchester United 188. The draw is available at 4.0. Both teams to score yes, 173. The Asian handicap line, Copenhagen getting a half goal star at 2.1. And the goal line here, once again, 2.5, 183 for the over. So, Miguel, we haven't had your thoughts on United for a few weeks. Do you ever get sick of talking about Manchester United on these podcasts?
And it's the thing as well. I mean, I feel like I've just done United relentlessly lately because it's just always a way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really...
There's not much going on there, really, is there, Mick?
Yeah.
I mean, not much to talk about.
There's few stories in football, or a few as big, or I suppose, let's be fair as well, that get as big an audience as a Manchester United crisis. Manchester United fans are obviously invested, and I suppose there's an element of other fans kind of reveling in it. The great irony, of course, is that their actual games aren't that watchable. In fact, lately they've been awful. It does remind me a bit of the last few months of Solskjaer and a lot of Mourinho. That's not necessarily encouraging for Ten Hag. And it does kind of feed into the greatest concern here, where this is something that's it's a point increasingly made, but I think it is by far the most relevant. You would think a year and a bit into the job, almost a year and a half, really, and even allowing for all the injuries he's had, United will be playing something close to what you would imagine Ten Hag's ideal is, or what they're playing in February. But there's been none of that. It's been kind of this very individualistic football, or basically kind of trying to be right and being dependent on moments of inspiration. Now, I suppose the flip side of actually the games being awful and me always being sent to cover them is there is always a story out of these games, as we saw with the last Copenhagen match. And I'm expecting extremely similar to that game, especially given United just have that slight bit more comfort from the win. But really, they obviously, they certainly need a result here, but really they need a win here. But it feels like, and it's remarkable to say this, but it was very striking from the first half at Old Trafford. Copenhagen at the moment feel like have a more defined idea of football, that they were more willing to go out and control the game in a way that just shouldn't be happening at Old Trafford. There'll probably be more of that in this game, and expect United to respond around it. I think United, just through sheer individual quality, will get through, or they'll claim the win as they have done in these games. But I'm expecting similar. It could be 1-0, 1-1. Really don't think this will be kind of, certainly if United go ahead, which is a big if, it's not like the handbrake will be off or anything like that. So I'm going under 2.5.
Under 2.5, 2.16 for Miguel. Incidentally, the group: Bayern 9 points, Galatasaray 4, United 3, Copenhagen 1. So nearly must win for Copenhagen in some ways. Mark, over to you on this one. And Miguel sort of touched on a lot of Manchester United. They're a great team to talk about, maybe not the best team to watch in terms of when you're looking to bet on how those games are going to go.
Maybe I found this one relatively straightforward, because I think anyone who saw Bayern Munich sort of labour to a 2-1 win away at Copenhagen on matchday 2 will be well aware this isn't an easy task for Man United, as anyone who saw Man United kind of stumble their way to a 1-0 win over Copenhagen on matchday 3 will know it's not going to be an easy task. And actually, I think anyone who's seen Man United play at all this season will know they're not to be trusted odds-on favourites, especially away from home in a tricky game. Now, Ten Hag has got a really relatively decent record in these kind of fixtures when United are expected to win, priced up at odds-on, especially away from home. But more recently, things have looked increasingly desperate on and off the pitch. And I think the eye test has told us all that at the moment, United are not to be touched at these kind of prices. You have to oppose them. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to back Copenhagen plus half a goal, which is 2.1 now on the Matchbook Exchange, which is a very nice price. Just in that reverse game, Copenhagen had 16 shots at Old Trafford. Obviously, that penalty saved in stoppage time denied them a share of the spoils. They hit the woodwork. They fully deserve something out of that fixture, as they did in the first game against Bayern Munich as well, where they did lose the shot count 15-11, but the expected goals figures were basically even, and they had 9 shots in the box against Bayern. They were very, very competitive in that match. And I think they'll be set up to get something out of this game. I think they're more than good enough to potentially get something more than just a point, even, because just looking at United, They won that weekend match against Fulham, where the game looked to be heading for another sort of dour draw. Fulham sort of failed to clear the ball, and Leno probably should do better with the shot from Fernandes. But it's just another very, very unconvincing win for Man United. They conceded 18 shots at Craven Cottage. You still got Maguire and Evans starting at centre half. You've still got Dalot playing, despite being all over the place defensively in the last few weeks. It's really questionable what Anthony is offering this team. Højlund's getting no service. Rashford not involved at the weekend, whether that's disciplinary reasons or injury, we're led to be told, but could be one or both. And yeah, if you single in on United's actual wins this season in Premier League or Champions League, none of them have been convincing and none of them have been impressive. The teams they've beaten, Brentford, Wolves, Forest, Sheffield United, Burnley, Copenhagen, well, they rescued the wins in stoppage time against Brentford and Forest. They were second best and very fortunate not to concede a penalty against Wolves in the last minute. They saved the penalty against Copenhagen. Bruno scores a stunner at Burnley, and then they need a late goal at Sheffield United as well. You can pick holes in all of their wins. So there's a fair argument to suggest they should be worse off in the Premier League and the Champions League based on what the actual league table is saying to us right now. So more than happy to oppose them, more than happy to take Copenhagen plus half a goal at odds against.
Yeah, Adrian, over to you. And I'd say it'll be hard to add much to that case, to be fair. Very comprehensive, both pro-Copenhagen and anti-Manchester United in terms of looking for them in the Asian handicap. But Adrian, you were the first man to discover Copenhagen. Bit of value in the market with that Bayern shout. And for a team that's 1 point out of 3, I think they've been very impressive in the Champions League.
Yeah, really impressive. And yeah, I like a Copenhagen handicap, and I'm going down that road again. I'm going to copy Mark here. Yeah, it did leap off the page, especially when I saw it was originally 2.2. Then I saw it was trimmed into even money, and now it's come out a little bit again. Very attractive price for 2.1 here. Obviously, you get the draw on side. Or the Copenhagen win. You can't back United at the moment. They're playing so poorly. I worked on the game at Fulham and they were dreadful. It was such a scrappy game between two teams that look like out of form mid-table outfits. That's where Manchester United are at the moment. And I think this will be really hard. The Parken Stadium is an intimidating place. And FC Copenhagen, who did so well against Bayern, have a great record there. I was looking at it since the start of last season, at home in the Champions League. They've won 2, drawn 5, and lost just the 1, which was that game against Bayern Munich, which was maybe a little bit unfortunate, as Mark has outlined. They're going to be hard to break down, very well organised. And they will take a lot of confidence from the fact they had so many shots at Old Trafford that they pushed them so hard. They'll smell blood. And for Copenhagen, a top 3 finish really is what they're looking for. I think probably beyond their wildest dreams to finish top 2 in this group, but they will eye up 3rd so they can continue their adventure in the Europa. And this is a smell blood game for them. Absolutely. United are there for the taking. They were at the weekend against Fulham. Fulham weren't up to it. FC Copenhagen, what I've seen of them, look capable of running them pretty close, if not beating them in this game. So yeah, Copenhagen plus half a goal for me.
Yeah, plus half a goal, and it's going to be the selection on the podcast. Copenhagen 2.1, effectively double chance there. Fun way to play Asian handicap markets. So do check out the Matchbook Bet.